Hi everyone, another day. Still got the hair out. Today's team is the Toronto Blue Jays, as you can tell by my shirt. And got a new pair of glasses if anyone noticed, if anyone cares. It's cold, and so I'm in the car with the heat running. Speaking of Toronto, I want to give a personal anecdote before discussing really the question that is currently up for debate, so to speak. I've been in Toronto twice so far, and the first time was in 2016, the second time was in 2019. And it's a cool city. It's really big, and I enjoyed my time. I mean, I went to 3 Jays games. They won every game. I want to say they played, at that time they were called the Indians, and then they played the Tigers, I want to say, and the Rangers. So it's 2 in 2016 and 1 in 2019. What's crazy about 2019, though, is at that point they were pretty bad and the crowd was sparse. Obviously, it was weekday, so that's slightly different in terms of the dynamic of the crowd, but also people don't really come out to see bad teams. However, what they got out of that situation at that time was the duo of Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And that's somewhat where we go in this video, the question of they've been linked. Let's actually take a step back. Signing Guerrero to a long-term extension was huge. He's basically there for life. You got Jeff Hoffman, and he has his ups and downs, but that's certainly a bullpen piece. They've gone and gotten Tyler Rogers recently. That was on Friday. They signed, obviously, Dylan Cease, one of, if not the most coveted pitcher this year. And now, with the offense, which is still good, even without these two guys, they've been linked to, obviously, bringing back Bo Bichette, since that's where he's been his whole career, and also making a move for Kyle Tucker, as he's the biggest free agent in this class. So our question today is, one, the other, or both? And some of the financial questions if they were to get both. I think from a sentiment standpoint, obviously, Bo Bichette should come back. I think from a maybe more practical standpoint, who actually fits the team better is certainly a question. So if you look at the lineup right now, it's Springer at DH. He could also play at outfield still, but he's getting up there in age. Nathan Lucas, right field. Vlad, first base. Barger, third base. Kirk, catcher. Varsho, center. Santander, left. Clement, second. And Jimenez, short. With a bench of Heineman, the other Jimenez, Davis Schneider, and Miles Straw. That's not terrible, but again, this is a really, really rich team, and they came within an out or two away from being the Dodgers. They were by far the biggest threat to the Dodgers this year, with the Phillies, who I just covered in the last video, probably second, but even then, the Phillies weren't that close. And Toronto, they want to win. Unlike many of the teams in this league, Toronto has the money, they have the funds, they have the resources, and they want to win, and they're actually going to put it on the field, or try to. So looking at that lineup, I see, what do I see? In terms of really solid players to really solid players, I'm surprised Varsho's OPS is so high. It says 833. I'm guessing that's because he hits a lot of homers and doubles. But he strikes out a lot. His approach is questionable a lot of the time. Plus, his arm is kind of weak. Santander had a terrible first season with the Blue Jays. He has the worst OPS on here, but actually Jimenez isn't that much higher. But obviously, he's a defense-first guy. Like, literally, that's actually another point with all this, is with Jimenez, you pretty much have to have him at short because he's locked in for a number of years. And he's a better shortstop than Bo. Even if Bo did come back, he'd be playing second. Like, I think that's pretty clearly the way that would work. And then you have either Barger or Clement at third. They could rotate. Barger could play right. Clement could play second at times. However you want to look at it. So the point of mentioning that is you have Santander, who knows what you'll get from him. Clement, his OPS in the playoffs was a completely different story to the regular season. The regular season wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. Kirk, good player, no questions. Vlad, obviously one of the best hitters in the game. Springer had one of the best years of his career, despite being 36 at the time. And you never know what you'll get from him. I'm also going off the assumption that he'll leave after 2026 because he'll be 37 going into almost 38. And if you can get a guy like Kyle Tucker, or even just have they went. The problem here is I could see him staying in theory if they hadn't gotten Santander. That's kind of where this isn't by any means the most egregious team with saddling themselves with bad contracts and just people that don't make sense given what they have. I'll think about the Reds. They're a huge example of this. They traded a great outfield prospect for a second baseman who they put in left field, which is crazy. They brought in a third baseman who can't hit for anything when they had one of their best prospects plays third base. Anyway, we're not talking about the Reds here. The point is there are spots open long term, and their two best. Another point with this, before we even decide, maybe there is no decision to make. This is just pointing out directions they could go with this situation. But two of the best Blue Jays prospects, unless they're traded, of course, are shortstops or middle infielders, and Arjun Nimala and JoJo Parker. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, literally ranked right now, it would be second and third. And I think, is Savage still a prospect technically? He may well be. But anyway, yeah, that's that. Another point to mention is, as I was saying with Springer, there are a number of guys whose contracts are going to run out after 2026, which I don't know if that was by design, but if it was, that's clutch, because a lot of teams, like the Phillies, for instance, have a bunch of long-term contracts that are not working out. But keeping in mind this discussion where we're talking about, hey, this year's free agent class looks better than next year's, and you don't know with the finances how things are going to go. If you have $100 million coming off the books, you can make that splash now and deal with the consequences later, because there will be fewer consequences with all that money coming off the books. So let's go over some of the guys that are set to leave after next year. Right now it's Varsho, Springer, obviously, Lauer, Bieber, Gossman, Garcia, and maybe Berríos. And like I said, I didn't even account for Garcia or Berríos, but those other guys account for $76 million. Berríos is making right now 19, and he's set to make 24 and 27 if he were to stay. And then Garcia makes 7.5. So that's over $100 million there. So the point is, if you can trade Berríos, which that's pretty much something that's been brought up, that's a point of discussion, some rumors, etc., where you have Gossman, Cease, Bieber. You don't know about his injuries, but even without Bieber, Savage, Ponce, Lauer, plus Francis and maybe Yariel Rodriguez, if he's still around, plus Ricky Tiedemann if he's ever healthy. Who else? A couple others. Did I forget any others? I think King and Santander are far off, so they wouldn't necessarily factor into this. But the point is, they have enough pitching. They can get rid of Berríos. He doesn't seem to want to be there if he's not going to be an important starter. Clear out that money. Avoid any chance of him opting in because he has a player option. So you get rid of him now. That would be pretty much the main outgoing at this point. Maybe Lucas if you get Kyle Tucker, because there's just a limited number of outfield positions and any sort of playing time. But as it is, I look at the bullpen. They've addressed it some. They can maybe go for one more. They have Rogers, Varland, Fisher, Little, Nance, Garcia, Hoffman. Maybe one more. Could make some sense. Get rid of Berríos. Wonder if... Who would they go for, though? Pete Fairbanks? Does that make sense? Because they're kind of running out of options. Luke Weaver? One of those two? That's a good question. But anyway, finally getting to this big question, having discussed all that. Tucker, Bichette, both. Let's look at these lineups I put together with each of these players. Oh, and I'm also going to mention, if they don't get Bo, there are other infield options, like this Song guy from Korea, who I don't know if they've actually been linked or not, but he's played third base in Korea, could play second base. Just saying, he'd be much cheaper than Bo, shorter length of contract, less of a financial obligation. He's only, I think, 29, so it's not like he's washed or super young. Just an idea. But with Tucker, basically, it's the lineup I said before, but it's a massive upgrade over Lucas. No offense to him. And you'd probably then move him, maybe for a reliever. Maybe package him in Berríos or someone. That's an idea. Maybe add a prospect, get something decent, like a real decent reliever. Could go for like Jojo Romero. I don't know. Or one of the guys from the Rockies. The Rockies always need something. They're nowhere near competing. The second lineup, I didn't need to read the whole first lineup. It's literally you just replace Lucas with Tucker. The second lineup, with Bo coming back, it's decent. I think it's the worst of the three, personally. But it would basically be, you move Barger to right, you have Bo at second, and then you have Clement at third. And then the rest is more or less the same, with actually the same bench, except Lucas is on the bench instead of Leo Jimenez. That's fine. I mean, again, I think the question is, do you trust what happened in 2025 to endure is maybe not the word, but do you expect guys like Ernie Clement to be more their playoff self or their regular season self? And is that lineup in this division where you never know with Tampa, but the Yankees are there, the Red Sox are cheap, but could pull something else, sign a couple guys, maybe make a trade. And then obviously the Orioles so far are seeming to get it back together. Do you trust that this team, as currently constructed, with just bringing back Bo, is good enough to win the World Series? That's the question. Lastly, the lineup with both. This lineup is crazy. I'm just going to say that right now. Springer, Tucker, Vlad, Bo, Barger, Kirk, Varsho, Santander, Jimenez, with Straw, Clement, Davis, Schneider, and Heineman on the bench. That is ridiculous. That, to me, is a better lineup than the Dodgers have. And then, obviously, in that situation, you'd have to move Berríos. I think with the first two, maybe you don't, unless you just want to. Who knows what's going on with Bieber's arm. Do you want to offload one of your depth guys? I forgot to even mention Ricky Tiedemann. I'm just going to mention him real quick. Really hyped prospect, has had injury problems. He should finally be back, knock on wood with that one. But you can honestly add him in the bullpen, and that's your complete bullpen, even if you do get rid of Berríos. And maybe you just add in a couple guys on minor league deals that could come up if you need them, like some older guys, maybe like Herman Marquez or something like that. I don't know. Miles Michaelis. Who knows? The point is, that lineup would be disgusting. And I mean, the rotation's good. The bullpen's pretty good. That lineup is nasty. Even if Clement is just a utility guy, that's probably good for him because you don't know if his bat's going to stick like it did in the playoffs. Varsho, he'd be hitting 7th, so all of his approach issues, kind of all or nothing type hitter. Barger's a little less. And even with the top, you could always adjust where Vlad, Bo, and Tucker are. I mean, I think Springer, even if Springer falls off some, you still have obviously a lot of depth and quality there. It's really impressive, and I'm almost jealous of what the Blue Jays have done in terms of approach, because one complaint I've had with the Orioles for a couple of years now is just you have guys like Jackson Holliday trying to hit home runs when he really should just be hitting singles and doubles. Same thing with Adley Rutschman. They don't play to their strengths the way a team like the Blue Jays is right now. And if you can get a guy like Santander even hitting 25, 30 home runs as opposed to like 7 that he hit in 2025, that's a potent lineup regardless. But adding in Bo and Tucker, since other teams want to be cheap and you have a bunch of money coming off, that's the best lineup in the league. Plus, unlike other teams, you don't have questions with the pitching staff. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you like, is this realistic? Should other teams step up and do something about it? This team probably would beat the Dodgers if they made it that far. They almost did this year. So anyway, it's a fun discussion. I'll let you guys have your thoughts and like the video if you want. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.